So this next song I'm going to be playing is called I Don't Seem to Care, and it was the first song I put on my campaign for Media Base Activator charts, and to my surprise, it made it to the top 40 in its first 10 weeks. So here we go. This is a song I wrote here on this farm. I'll just click it in. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've been daydreaming nightmares in my mind. Couldn't tell you just how they go, even how they're like. I wouldn't wanna looking outward for happiness inside. Is that a problem? I still like my life with all things aside. All my struggles, I don't seem to care. I'm living life day by day, burning like a fire. I'll build a rocket ship and fly to the moon, yeah. I just want to swim in the deep blue sea, to feel the distance between all of us, you and me. Is there a difference? I don't listen, I hardly understand. It's not your problem. If I write it down, I'll be king of the land. Maybe the jester, I don't seem to care. I'm living life day by day, burning like a fire. I'll build a rocket ship and fly to the moon, yeah, I don't seem to care. I'm living life in my own way, burning with desire. I'll build a rocket ship and land on the moon, yeah. Ooh. Hey, hey. I've been dreaming about monsters in my mind. I couldn't see them, they're behind my back mostly all the time. I couldn't beat them, turn the lights on, I can't sleep tonight. But I'm not worried if I'm gonna live, if I'm gonna die. Oh, what's the hurry? I don't seem to care. I'm living life day by day, burning like a fire. I'll build a rocket ship and fly to the moon, yeah, I don't seem to care. I'm living life in my own way, burning with desire. I'll build a rocket ship and land on the moon, yeah. Ooh. I don't seem to care. I don't seem to care. I don't seem to care. No, I don't seem to care.
All right, welcome Spencer into our studio. I know you just performed on your beautiful property that you got out in was that in Fallbrook or
It's in Valley Center, yeah.
Valley Center. Yeah, man, that's a gorgeous spot you have though. Like it's so many beautiful places, and I think there's a waterfall.
There is
tucked in
a
there, huh?
waterfall kind of tucked back. We weren't really performing there, but
Yeah.
if you went back around the road, there's a pretty decent sized waterfall. It's not like gushing water, but
Yeah.
it kind of zigzags its way down.
That's so cool.
When it rains, it is kind of a rapid. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's cool.
Well, you kind of have this mountainous personality about you and everything. Have you always had that? Has that been something that you kind of grown into, or?
Well, I've grown up in Valley Center and always kind of been in the agricultural kind of, not really work, but just my dad grew a lot of avocados and citrus, and I was always into being outdoors and riding bikes and digging in the ground and getting into trouble, with outdoorsy stuff. So it's just kind of part of being in Valley Center, especially growing up there in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was quite a bit more quiet than it is now, but it's still got its cool country vibe. So
Yeah, yeah, a little bit more than here, of course, in Temecula. I grew up in Marietta, and I don't know, 93 is when I was born. We moved out here in 93, and there was still sheep where the mall
yep,
was, and then it was like all these houses. That's where we used to have our bike jumps,
yep.
and so I still remember all of that.
Yeah, I never really made it out here as a kid. I think my dad might have owned a grove or two
Hmm.
closer to this area, but I just remember there being nothing in
Yeah.
Temecula, like just dirt and like farms,
Yeah.
people with cattle, sheep, that
Mhm.
kind of stuff. And then Fallbrook's got the avocados and
Yeah.
all that.
Apparently they're like the avocado.
Still, I guess they still got the sign at
Yeah.
least,
They got the
and
sign.
the avocado capital of at least the United States.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know about the world. I know Mexico. I just know all the
Yeah.
commercials, the avocados from Mexico, like that.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. But I that's where I take my fiance's dad all the time when he comes out here. We'll just grab bags, and then
Oh, yeah.
they're on the ground.
They're great.
They're on the property.
If it's
We're grabbing
passive,
'em.
if it's passive fence, it's
Yep.
game.
Yep, and it's like we're grabbing them. So we kind of fill that up all the time. It's a good spot. So yeah, and then now with everything kind of just from the farms and everything growing up and everything, there's still a huge sense of community in these areas.
Yeah, yeah.
And the music community right now is just thriving out here.
Yeah,
So,
that is actually a really good thing to kind of focus on.
mhm.
There's a lot of music going on in San Diego and North County, just in general, Riverside County. You go to Temecula, there's Old Town Temecula, the whole strip's just full of live music, and
Oh yeah.
you go to Valley Center, it's starting to build a bit of a community with the studio I've been recording at,
Yeah.
and a new music shop just opened up, and we're having open mics and
that's fun.
performances and stuff. And I was always a big part of the school band,
Mhm.
and I was more in jazz band, but I did concert band and stuff
There
just
you
to get my merits,
Yeah.
But I would, from fourth grade and on, so I've always been kind of involved in the musical community in Valley Center and my surroundings. So really, really something cool that people don't really think of, because when they think of San Diego, you think of, I don't know, Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Yeah. Mhm.
Sublime, or I guess Sublime's from
Long Beach.
Long Beach,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think if you're outside of California, everyone's just like like how many celebrities do you see in the store every day? Like
yeah, no, and it's like, oh, none.
yeah. I don't run into Brad Pitt when I go grocery shopping. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, it's like
I know Bill Murray lives in Palma Valley, but
yeah. And then okay, so now we're getting into some stuff too, because the guy who owns the Swinging Cafe, that's Dean Norris, and he was the one who played Uncle Hank
okay,
in Breaking Bad and stuff. So I guess
yeah, we
Mario
got
Lopez, he comes out here a lot.
we got a bit more
Okay.
celebrities than, like,
Okay.
let's say Indiana. But-
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, guys, but
Well, but cool. So in the start of your journey and everything, is that where you got your musical start? Was in the school bands and all?
yeah,
Or
that's
okay.
that's where I got my start in music. Mainly, my dad played guitar and stuff, but he was pretty adamant about being hands off and not showing me a whole lot of how he played and what style of music he played and that kind of stuff. He wanted me to build my own musical sense and kind of gain my own style, which I think if you heard both of us together, you would definitely see that we each have our own styles.
Yeah.
And it does help out with recording too, because if I need a ripping guitar solo, I just call up my dad. It's
Yeah.
like, hey,
Hey, Dad. Yeah. Bring the
want to have some fun?
bring the Mustang, dude.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Want to have some fun?
Oh man, yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, that's pretty unique. I don't feel like a lot of parents do that. My parents, and I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm not trying to trash anything, but my parents, I listened to them when they told me, like, this is a good song, and I played guitar at 13, right? So it was like, you should learn this song, and I was like, oh yeah, cool. And then I would start learning, and that helped me grow.
Yeah.
And kind of develop my sound in that. But that's a really cool approach, how your dad kind of took that hands off,
Yeah,
like, hey,
he never
find
told
your
me to
voice.
learn a song, or
Yeah.
never told me, like, oh, you gotta play like this or something like that. He gave me a guitar and told me to close my door.
yeah.
And I was, as a guitar player, I am pretty much all self-taught. I played trumpet in school band, and that's more how I learned to play the music, or just get my ear going and reading music. But to the guitar, it doesn't translate. So
yeah, not as easily.
I never
Yeah.
picked up tabs or anything like that,
Mm-hmm.
and did lessons, and I just kind of strummed and played through the bad notes until I found something
Yeah.
good, kind of a thing. So it took me a while, but I feel like it was worth it because I did develop kind of my own sound,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know really where to land it, but the Americana folk kind of
Mm-hmm.
sound
Yeah.
is more or less what I've kind of landed into.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some blues.
Yeah, I know there's some blues influences from what I hear and everything, and we could even dive into the first song that you just performed for us. Just performed for us,
Yep.
Studio Magic.
Uh-huh.
But the first song you performed, I Don't Seem to Care.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit of like your influences on that one and kind of how that came about?
Yeah, so I mean, as a lot of my songs start, it was more or less just a riff, and I just really liked the progression that I had, and I was working on these different bar chords, not just playing at the top of the neck, but being able to move all the way up and down the neck, playing
Yeah.
all the simple chords, G, C, D kind of stuff, and then kind of put something together. And at the time, I was hanging out with one of my friends, and he was always coming out to my place at the farm, and we would just hang out and drink beers and come up with lyrics, and
Heck yeah.
stay up until like 2 or 3 in the morning, just jabbering away at anything. We'd be listening to a lot of Grateful Dead and stuff like that.
Heck yeah.
But in my mind, I was writing this more kind of ska rock tune, and I started playing it around with people I had played with locally, and every time we'd have a drummer, they just went straight to reggae.
Yeah.
And eventually it kind of grew on me. So when I actually got into the studio, it's like, now that we're doing this reggae, you know, and as reggae as I can. I mean, it's definitely not the Bob Marley style reggae. It's probably more modern, maybe slightly stupid, a little bit more like that.
Yeah. So a little bit more on the
rock side.
Yeah.
It still held that rock sound, but when you listen to it, you'll hear the organ, you hear the clav,
Yeah.
and you hear the piano and all the stuff going on. I play a little bit of trumpet in there too, so you got to get the horns in it. So.
Heck yeah. I love the horn section and all music. And if I hear a solid horn section, I'm just like, I'm sold. Like, let's go. Well, that's so cool. I know it kind of like the feeling that I got from it. It wasn't so much like, I don't care and like, screw the world, whatever.
Yeah.
It was more of like, like, yeah, I don't care. I'm good with it, but I'm still like going down the path that I need to do. Like I almost like caring less of what other people's are thinking and saying about you.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like that was more what I was going for. It's not really, I don't care, kind of lethargic, whatever, or apathetic, but it's more like, I don't really care what the world's throwing at me. I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing and doing it my own way. And if you got to get to the moon, you're going to build your own rocket ship.
Yeah.
And kind of, it's just that kind of put your boots on and just do it kind of a thing. And just don't let the voices of the world get into your head too much. I mean, sometimes it is good to listen, because you can't smell your own smell lots of times, and some people got to tell you stink.
Yep.
And
That's a good
it is
one.
good to let it soak in, but at the same time, you can't let something like that get to you. You got to keep moving. So especially if you want to succeed in what you're going for. So
yeah, no, that's solid. And I know you from that progression and doing that, and recording that song, you recorded that at DBU Ranch Recorders, right?
Yeah.
With Dusk and all them. Can you tell me a little bit of like how it felt getting that off the paper, out of your head, and just like onto with him? I know he records to tape, so onto tape. How was that?
It was definitely a really cool experience. It was on originally did a 15-track album.
Oh, okay.
So
Heck yeah.
we were one of
That's a
his first,
beast.
one of his first clients, and it took a long time. There was a couple of breaks just because he was still sort of building the studio at the same time as we were recording. So we took a few breaks here and there, which was kind of nice. But it felt great, hearing what I imagined coming into life off the tape. And being able to have all those microphones and instruments and things that kind of at your disposal, and musicians too. For that particular song, we used my dad's really good friend Robert, who who used to play in their old band, Not for Hire.
Okay.
And so him and my dad were very, very well practiced together, which made things go pretty smoothly because my dad would play the bass and then Robert played the drums and I played the guitar.
Yeah.
And we're just already kind of in sync together. So it was just really fun to hear a song that I would just play on my guitar and then starting to hear the organ come through, starting to hear the drums click in and the sweet bass riff, like, oh man, this is so much fun. You know, it is so much fun.
Yeah.
And then you get it out there and you just kind of wait. But
yeah. Yep. And I know you have a lot of your stuff out on Bandcamp right now.
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason you have it on Bandcamp rather than, the mainstream platforms and everything? I just...
Yeah, well, my reasoning behind it is, streams are one thing and then, monetary stuff is another thing. And I like the fact that Bandcamp is very independent artist centered.
Yeah.
And that they're there to help the artists, get as much out of their stuff as possible. And they don't take a very big cut out of what you sell. They're very into getting your music out there to other Bandcamp listeners. Not really kind of like DistroKid where they get your stuff out into Spotify and Apple Music and all these other venues. I did put most of my stuff onto YouTube, so that's my other way of kind of hitting two different markets. But at the time, I just wanted to see where it would go, like how much traction am I going to get just off of Bandcamp. And so far, it's been so-so. I'm gearing towards getting a DistroKid and getting onto Spotify and into Apple Music. Now that I've seen some success with my music, now I feel like it's worth the time and the effort to get it on there, and so other people can hear it. I Don't Seem to Care, I did a radio campaign with it for 10 weeks. Yeah. And that event ended up where the song got onto 39 on the media-based activator charts.
That's so
which
cool.
In the top 40 is pretty good when you're competing with like, Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift and, Fall Out Boy and all these other bigger groups. Yeah. But the sad truth is the more money you put into it, the longer of a chance you have to get up there, and you're competing against people who have big budgets. And I'm just a small town Valley Center kid, but it's definitely worth trying it out if you feel passionate about it. And I was excited to see the success with that. So.
Yeah, no, that's really cool, and I think that's a good point for a lot of people. Is like, you got to be excited and you gotta back it, regardless if you don't have the budget or you don't have the marketing team or whatever it is, right? If you're passionate about it, put it out there, and that's another reason why I built like this platform, this channel for people, is to highlight musicians and artists like yourself who are eager to grow and learn and do all that. And it's like you just don't have the big budget to do all the marketing and stuff. So we come in here, highlight your music and do all that, and that's kind of like that's the real essence of why we're sitting here today and doing that. So that's really cool. And that's exciting, man. Hitting the top 40 in any charts, like regardless. I mean, that is epic. I keep seeing your Instagram posts about it, or I was seeing your Instagram posts about it. It's just so cool. And I know Dusk is doing a lot of really cool things there. He's in some magazines now, and it's a really cool community that you're a part of in this area right now. And man, that's just so exciting.
It's great having that connection with someone like Dusk, because he knows the LA people, and without knowing who they are, like you're throwing darts blindfolded at that point. So it's nice having someone who can direct you to someone who has proven themselves to be good and to get people in the right outlets. So
well, hey everybody, my name is Spencer White, and this first song I'm going to be playing for y'all is called Transit Comin'. It's charting on media base right now at number 47, so close to being in the top 40, and got 2 weeks to get there, so hopefully let's get this train rolling. Transit Comin'.
Trains are coming. may save your soul when your hands all in. Nobody's folding. What's the future hold? Hey, hey. Trains are coming, everybody go. Trains are coming, everyone aboard. We can dive for diamonds, fools for gold. If it don't rock, then you know it ain't roll. What's the future hold? People acting crazy like the river's overflown. Your hands all in, nobody knows just what the future holds. Hey, hey, goes choo, 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 chugga choo, choo. Hey, hey, ooh, 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 ooh.
All right. So you just performed Trains a Comin',
Yes.
right? Kind of, can you tell us a little bit of the story of that song? Because that one has a really cool, sound to it as well.
Yeah, so it is quite a bit different from the previous song, and that one also had a bit of a different writing process. Similar to, I had this riff going, and that's more or less how I write most of my songs, is have a riff, and then I put words to it. Some people do it the opposite.
Yeah.
But and at the time we had been hosting these volunteers on our farm, showing them how to do organic farming and just basic stuff, irrigation, what's watering too much, what's not, really simple stuff. But in the afternoons we just hang out and talk and mess around and whatever. And at the time my dad was trying to write some lyrics to a song, and we're all gathered around where I stay, and just my dad's asking everybody, like, hey, if you get any sound bites, just tell me, I'll write it down on this piece of paper. So they all went in a circle and kind of said their piece, and we had all these words all put together. And the main one that stood out was Trains a Comin'. And I was just messing around on the guitar, and I looked up and like, I think this riff is perfect for Trains a Comin'. It sounds like a Trains a Comin'. So
Yeah.
I just kept moving it and massaging it and working it out, and eventually came together with 3 verses and a pretty good chorus. And then you get into the studio and you're like, does this song make the cut? And it did, but it's nice again having that, all the different stuff at your disposal, where we were able to throw in a really, really cool guitar solo. You're just in this room with these massive amps.
Yeah.
Being able to just stick your guitar into an amp and just have it go, wah, just like freaking out. And I wasn't going for a really nice polished solo. I wanted it to be really dirty. I wanted it to sound like a train.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what we did. At one point, my dad was taking the guitar and just sliding it up against the big old microphone stand. It's on my Instagram.
Yeah.
And he's just strings to the metal, just whee.
That's
And
so cool.
Dust's face was horrified and just like amazed at the same time,
Yeah.
because that microphone stand happens to be more expensive than the guitar. But
Oh man. Yeah, I've seen some people get some really interesting sounds in the studio, and it's just where their mind comes up with these things is insane.
Yeah.
I saw a guy one time with a violin bow and a saw, and he was making some really cool sounds with that, and I'm just like,
have you ever seen people do that before?
no, that was the first time. Yeah.
I love that instrument. It's actually known as an instrument.
Yeah.
And people play the saw.
Oh my gosh.
It's a bluegrass kind of folk kind of
Yeah.
thing. But it sounds so cool.
It is,
Just
especially if they know,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't
don't
feel
know.
like anyone's going to just bust it out if they don't know how to play it, right?
I'm sure it sounds horrible if you don't know what you're doing. It's
right.
like finger on chalkboard.
Yeah. Well, I would just take the saw and just do that wobbling sound. Yeah.
I always did that in my dad's tool shed.
Yeah, I got the saw.
He's probably like, put that down.
Oh man, yeah. There's a band that I really like a lot, Angels and Airwaves, Tom DeLonge, and they had their
Heck yeah.
one of their first albums, Secret Crowds or Secret Machine, Start the Machine.
Uh-huh.
See, it's my favorite band. I don't even know they're freaking. But in the documentary, he talked about in the studio, he was like, I really want it to sound like marching and doing all this stuff to this song, and and the producer was like, all right, yeah, those filing cabinets over there, just start shutting them. And he was like, next thing you know, we got an
People
army
get
marching.
so creative in the
Yeah.
studio.
Like yeah.
It is really fun. I'm sure the Beatles
Oh, dude.
were just way ahead of their game when they were doing
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff. When you listen to like Abbey Road
Yeah.
and a few of their other albums that are a little bit more on the weird side.
Yeah.
Like I'm just imagining in my head, like, how are they making those sounds? And sometimes it's so simple that you wouldn't even think of it. But
Exactly. No, it always intrigued me, especially the Beatles too. Is like those four guys in their prime really knew how to just play off each other and
Yeah.
just like, yeah, you want to try that out? All right.
So-
Like, yeah.
someone did ask me if I used a sample for the train sound in
Okay.
Trains A Comin', because there is a train horn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope, I just used one of those wooden little train
Yeah.
horns that you give to your kid.
Yes.
You know, just put it up to this really nice microphone, and it sounds just like a train.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's no digital effects
Yeah.
in any of my songs.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I'm passionate about too, is organic
Mm-hmm.
music. Doesn't have to be, that you're there playing it and everyone has to have an instrument kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I could play bass, guitar, sing, and it would be fine. But samples in my mind, unless you're doing club music,
Yeah.
is a little cheating. But that's just in my opinion too.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, I get what you're saying, yeah, I mean, I just feel like it's an entire art form,
Yeah.
and especially in the westernized music industry, right? And
yeah.
we have very much like it needs to be this way. It needs to sound like this.
And-
It needs to do that. And to some degree, I feel like, yeah.
It's worth it when you're doing advertising and stuff that you're trying to, get. You have a deadline,
Yeah.
so you're gonna use a pre-made sample, and that's just what the industry is nowadays.
Yeah.
But when you're trying to make good music, like, take the time to make something sound good.
Yeah.
To make it sound more realistic. Is some people's ears, they don't really care. They hear the train sound and they couldn't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Then other people, they're like, okay, that was a little, you got that off of the Apple OS X, or GarageBand or something. Like, some people can tell. And I
Yeah.
think the authenticity of the sound, it makes me like the bands a bit more.
Yeah. I mean, it's always more interesting when bands or artists or anyone in that matter takes that extra time to do just that little thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, everyone's like, who cares? Just freaking
Yeah.
be done with it. It's like that little thing. And those are the stories that we love to hear in like the
Yeah.
documentaries or whatever. It's like, really? Like, they really did that? And
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, man. So that always intrigued me. And me in the video world, it's like, that's what I live for, is like these directors, like, when they filmed the movie The Joker, they filmed it on like this camera with like one of the largest sensors, because they wanted to use an 85 millimeter lens, which is typically a close-up portrait lens, but they wanted that to be their wide lens. So they used a super large sensor so that the 85 was a super,
Okay.
it's like this whole thing.
Bunch of
But
nerdy, geeky stuff.
but it created this intimate feeling with the main character, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a portrait lens, and we use portrait lenses to kind of give that, like, you can read the face, like you can see it, right? So that's why they did that. Did they have to do it? No, they could have slapped a 12 millimeter on whatever, and done the
Yeah.
same thing. But it was like, when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, like they did that? Even, back to Tom DeLonge doing that with the filing cabinets, or like the shoebox of rocks. It's like, really? They did that? No
Exactly.
way. So that's so cool hearing how you just use like that toy. Like,
Yeah.
I'm calling it a toy, but
It is a toy.
Yeah. I was like,
They sell-
correct me if I'm wrong.
They sell them in gift shops.
So cool, man. So cool. So overall, how would you say your journey's been thus far from kind of like starting on this, getting your music out there and like really laying down tracks to where you're at now? Like, how's that played out for you?
It's been good. It's definitely nice having stuff, under your belt. When you go looking to play music places, they take you a bit more seriously now. Like,
Yeah.
before, it's like, oh, I'm a singer-songwriter. I got this music, and I'm just trying to do stuff solo, and people kind of blow you off. I got a few gigs here and there from people I know mainly, but now I feel a lot more confident going to some bigger venues and trying to find more gigs that have people coming to them that I don't know, and that way you get your music more out there and more out there, and it's just all about finding that right slot, obviously.
Yeah.
But definitely a lot more confident now that I have quite a few songs on my Bandcamp, stuff I can show people, videos and interviews and stuff with a few different places that I have out on Spotify, and also this will be up at some point.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. So, man, that's so cool. I would say right now, if you can, like, what's probably the best advice you got for that person trying to take that first step, or I guess trying to feel like, I don't have the budget, I don't have all the things, but I have the ideas, and I want to get them off the paper,
Yeah. Well, definitely take it as slow as you want. Don't feel rushed into getting something done. When you have your head more collected, you can think a lot more straight, and that way you come out with a better end result. When I did the 15-track album, it was a lot to handle. There was times I'd come into the studio, be like, and Dusk would ask, "What song are we doing today?" I'd be like, "I don't know." I'd be listening to all the tracks that he would give me and come up with some riffs here and there, and eventually we pieced it all together. But it did take a little bit longer because I just wasn't experienced.
Yeah.
So if you start small, 1 or 2 songs, or like what Raising Pastor did, I think they did like 3 or 4 songs, and then they're gonna do a few more in a later session. That way you're able to focus on that song and make it as good as possible. You don't come out with duds. You just come out with really good stuff. And I wouldn't say I have too many duds on my first album, but there are songs I personally could say like I could do it better. It's not what Dusk did that was wrong. Is I just wasn't prepared enough, and I didn't have all my energy into that song. It's like I did it, and it's like, all right, it's done. Let's move on to the next one.
No, I feel it, man. And there's definitely a couple songs that I've recorded in my band and stuff that it's the same. It's like we could probably take some more time with that one. Yeah.
So don't bite more than you can chew. Yeah. But don't let the budget thing scare you. Save up some money and just do it. And that's another reason doing it small is nicer, because people like Dusk can be intimidating because he's like $1,200 for 24 hours. Yeah. Which to us working class, that's a lot of money. You don't. A lot of us don't make $1,200 in a week. Yeah. Exactly. So, like, I know I don't, but
yeah, no, I do. No, I'm just kidding.
A lot of my friends do, but that's construction, and that's some hard work.
But they don't even have time to record at that point.
No, no, you're working 8 hours, probably 10 hours for 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I do like my job. I make dirt and stuff. It gives me a lot of time to write music and to be able to do the stuff that I enjoy, because we work more in the mornings, and then the rest of the day I have time to be involved in my community and be involved in my music. So that I do feel blessed that I'm able to take the time and be in the studio and be recording. And also I have my dad who's super into all this recording stuff too. So he's definitely helping me out a lot. That's awesome. It's really fun to be able to do that. So if you can find somebody that's willing to put down some cash, that's another great way of getting into the studio. I would say, get online and find venues, maybe even you, to get your music out, and then promoters will hear your stuff. Yep. And that's I think how a lot of people end up doing it in the first place. They get noticed by somebody who's promoting music, and they feel strongly enough about your music that they're willing to put down a little bit of a budget that you can record your music. So that's another great route to take.
Yeah. No, most definitely. And that's kind of the reason that I do a lot of what I do, because I never had these opportunities when I
Yeah.
was playing music, right? I didn't have a guy come up to me and be like, "Hey, I got a show, let's
Yeah.
get you on there." I didn't have anyone show up to these venues and everything. It's like, "Hey, I got my camera, like I'll film you."
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, I'm gonna be that guy that I wish I had, when I was playing, and so that's kind of the reason that I set up these packages that I have. Like, I do live shows. I just
Yeah.
finished one for Travis Williams, and we recorded all of his songs at a set, and we pieced it together. So he has his 2-minute video to show venues and promoters like, this is how I sound, this is how it is.
Great.
And then he has, like, I think he did 31 songs in this set. It was like a 4-hour set that he did. So
Wow.
all 31 songs into their own individual videos, and it's like, there you go. Whether you use them all or not is regardless, but it's like, you have it, And so it's spending money on things like that rather than maybe just a weekend getting down 2 tracks and then blowing the rest of your budget on a music video.
Exactly.
And it's like, and then 3 months later they're like, why aren't I big? And it's like, well, you spent all your money on 2 things.
Exactly.
So
you seem to know a lot more because being in bands, but getting your ducks lined up in the right way, and that way you have something to present to your potential gigs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which was definitely something I didn't have up until I recorded at Dust Studio. I just didn't have anything good enough to show to anybody. I was doing a lot of my own recording, and I'm decent with sound, but not like that.
Yeah.
I didn't have quite the right setup.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this next song I'm going to be releasing here in the next month or so, and it's coming out of DBU Ranch Recorders, and it's called Tell You How I Feel. And this is something I really enjoy, is a kind of blues rock and just that good old blues. So here we go, and let's see how it goes. To try, and when I tell you how I feel, and you give me those eyes, I might break down and cry. Oh, I wanna tell you how I feel, yeah. If I don't, I'll break down and die. I wanna tell you what is real. I wanna show you what is right. Oh, I wanna tell you how I feel, yeah. There ain't no reason not to try. And when I tell you how I feel, and you give me those eyes, I might break down and cry. Oh, I wanna tell you how I feel, yeah. If I don't, I'll break down and die.
might break down and cry. Oh, I wanna tell you how I feel. Yeah, if I don't, I'll break down and die, die, die. If I don't, I'll break down and die.
Yeah, so there's options, there's ways to do it. I know you just released a new song
Yeah.
just now, and that's called
It's called Tell You How I Feel.
Tell You How I Feel. Wow.
And it's more in like the blues rock ballad kind of song, with a little bit of cool saxophone in there.
Ooh, got sax
And-
on there? I don't
Yeah.
Oh. Ooh, I'm so stoked.
Yeah, because I meet all these people just playing music, and I was playing at Dr. Bouchart, which is this kombucha tasting house in Escondido.
Okay.
And someone walks through the door, and they got this really bright red dress on, just looking super fancy,
Yeah.
you know. And we start talking, and they're like, "Oh, do they hire musicians here?" I'm like, "Yeah, you go talk to Chaz and stuff."
Yeah.
So they started playing there, and it turns out she's just really good at saxophone.
Wow.
So we're like, "Hey, we need you to play in a song. Can you play in a song?" So she came up to Dust Studio and did these tracks, and now she's part of what I call like the DBU community.
Yeah.
Like if somebody needed saxophone on their song, like Dusk will tell them like, "Hey, call up Danielle.
Yeah.
You know, she'll be up to play for a song. She lives in San Diego, but you know, when you're getting paid, it's not a bad drive."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's so cool. And that's another thing too that we could talk about for a second is like just getting out there.
Yeah.
Being out in these places,
Yeah.
venues, even if you're not even playing that night, just show up.
Well, you might meet somebody.
Exactly.
That's why you go to these open mics.
Mhm.
You know, you meet all sorts of people, potential people to play music with.
Yep.
I've been playing music with Aaron Firestone,
Okay.
and
Heck yeah.
it's been fun. You know, we
Yeah.
played at Vitagliano, and then we played at this bar and grill up in PB,
Heck yeah.
and we'll be playing at the kombucha place on Saturday. So
Yeah. See, you never know who you're gonna meet. That's awesome, man.
Yep.
Well, thanks for being a part of the show.
yeah,
Helping me grow this platform as well, and I hope all of this helps you grow in your way as well.
definitely.
And then if anyone needs to find you, can you give just a couple of all the links are going to be in the description below, so people will just click. But can you just
Yeah.
yeah
So it's Spencer White Music for Instagram, and then Spencer T. White for YouTube, and spencerwhite.bandcamp.com
Mhm.
to purchase my music or stream it. So,
heck yeah purchase.
yeah, purchase.
Well, I think
Tell
there's
you
a-
how I feel is only $1.
There you go. I don't know. It's really not that bad. We have so many subscriptions nowadays when it comes to, videos and all this other stuff, right? And it's like, yeah, it seems a little weird. Why do I have to pay for something when I can just stream it or I could just find it on YouTube? And it's not really you're paying for the song. You're paying the artist so that you can hear more of their songs, if that makes
Exactly.
sense, right?
Yeah.
You are supporting the person behind it, not, the
Yeah.
yeah.
It's not really the amount of money. It's just the fact that you're supporting them.
Mhm.
And that's how artists make their money. They sell T-shirts and hats and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Exactly.
And they take their tips from their gigs and selling their CDs on a table stand at the end of their gig. I mean, that's how people get on the road. So
Yep. So yeah, if you want to help Spencer out in any way, purchase some of his songs on Bandcamp. I'm sure you're gonna have some T-shirts and some hats and stuff here soon, right?
one of these days.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm like hoping for the mountain hat that you had going. I don't know why I said hat, but that's what I'm picturing. If you have a couple of those, that would be really cool.
I'll look into that.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, thank you again.
Thank you.
Hey!